Well, for the first time since the Falklands War, and really only the second time since the Second World War, the UK Parliament gathered this morning for a weekend vote. And in the end, all it achieved is a new Brexit delay. Here is how the British Prime Minister reacted.
I will not negotiate a delay with the EU, and neither does the law compel me to do so.
Now, the decision appears to be a big defeat for Boris Johnson. On paper, it rules out the option to leave the European Union in a no-deal Brexit at the end of this month. And it also forces the Prime Minister to ask the EU for yet another extension. But as with all things Brexit, anything could happen in the coming days. Now, protesters opposed to Brexit, as you can see here, are still gathering outside the British Parliament at Westminster this hour. Now, they reacted with jubilation as MPs backed to delay the deal that was presented by Johnson. A similar rally was held earlier this year when Theresa May's deal failed to get through. And for the latest, let's now go to Dominic Velitis. He's outside the British Parliament at Westminster.
The so-called Letwin amendment passed with a much bigger majority than I think anyone here was expecting. By my account, it passed with a majority of 16, and of course it now compels Boris Johnson to formally ask the European Union for an extension to the whole Brexit process. That, of course, is something that he has repeatedly refused to do. So take a listen now to how he responded when that vote came in. Take a listen.
Alas, the opportunity to have a meaningful vote has effectively been passed up because the meaningful vote has been voided of meaning. I will not negotiate a delay with the EU, and neither does the law compel me to do so. I will tell our friends and colleagues in the EU exactly what I've told everyone in the last 88 days that I've served as Prime Minister, that further delay would be bad for this country, bad for our European Union, and bad for democracy.
And I can tell you, Michael, that when that result came in on that vote, there were huge cheers from the literally tens of thousands of protesters who'd gathered at Parliament Square, just a stone's throw away from where I'm standing now. Reaction too from inside the House of Commons, as you would expect. We've heard this afternoon from Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Opposition Party. We've heard from Ian Blackford, the leader of the Scottish National Party, and from Joe Swinson, who leads the Liberal Democrats here. All are now saying that Boris Johnson must abide by the terms of the Benn Act, which compels him to seek a further extension to the Brexit process. If he will do that, we will have to wait and see. Michael.
Yeah, if he will do that. So talk to us about what comes next, because even if people are celebrating outside the British Parliament, there's still a big question mark of what's to follow.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's essentially two steps that are going to happen next, Michael. We think Boris Johnson, under the terms of the law, has to now send that letter to the European Union asking for an extension. As I say, it's something he's repeatedly refused to do. It's telling, I think, that he used the words in that clip a minute ago. He doesn't intend to negotiate an extension with the deal. That could give him a little bit of wriggle room, because he now has to, in theory, send a letter to Brussels officially asking for that extension. And there are some people here who think he may send that letter asking for the extension and then follow it up with another letter straight after saying, by the way, this is something that I don't agree with. The second step in this process, though, Michael, which moves things forward now till next week, as business here is pretty much done, is that Boris Johnson will now bring forward new legislation next week to try and ensure that Britain leaves on October 31st. That's Boris Johnson's preferred date for Britain to leave the European Union. So business here is now pretty much over. Things have been moved now till next week. So we think that legislation will be introduced on Monday, possibly a vote on Tuesday. So more of the same next week, I'm afraid, Michael.